It's hard to deal with. It's hard to see.
Just a day after a mass shooting at a hookah lounge on Rainier Avenue South, some who work and live nearby have one thing on their mind.
I wish things would change.
Seattle police say the shooting left 3 people dead: a 22-year-old man, a 32-year-old man, and a 30-year-old woman. 6 others were injured. Investigators still trying to determine what led up to it. In late July, there was another shooting also on Rainier Avenue South. This one left 5 people injured. A few days before that, 4 people shot during an illegal street racing event in Capitol Hill. Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz is calling these incidents a disturbing trend.
We are seeing more rounds being fired, and that is where the trauma, occurs. And that's really what we're also trying to figure out. How do we stop this? How do we make our communities, safer?
And the feeling of safety is what many are hoping for after this tragic weekend.
Dramatic changes, just extremes, just from the buildings that are going up, the type of community that it once was to what it is now. People are unsafe, people are scared, a lot of homelessness, a lot of drug use.
In Seattle, Mo Hyder, KOMO News.
So far, Seattle police haven't released any details on a possible suspect in that mass shooting. Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell responded to the deadly shooting. He released this statement, which reads in part, "Mass shootings cannot be so commonplace that they are an acceptable summer weekend activity. Not for people at social gathering spaces, not for people at the park, not for anyone, anywhere." Even as SPD keeps up a rapid and record pace of recovering guns, 869 through July, there are still more illegal guns in the wrong hands that could be used to incite another tragedy like this one.
SPD Chief Adrian Diaz says the city is seeing a drop in the total number of shootings this summer, but a spike in the number of shots fired at each incident. That means there are more victims and more trauma for families and their communities. Now it's a trend Chief Diaz says is unacceptable and one that city leaders are working to tackle at both the state and local level. Seattle police found 5 guns while spending hours processing the scene of a mass shooting at the Rainier Hookah Lounge. Neighbors horrified to hear a 22-year-old man, a 32-year-old man, and a 30-year-old woman were killed.
I honestly am in disbelief.
6 others showed up to Harborview with gunshot wounds. KOMO News is told 1 remains critical and 5 are stable.
You see the families that are impacted by this violence. It's unacceptable.
This latest incident comes on the heels of another mass shooting where people gathered for an illegal street race on Capitol Hill. Days later, 5 people were shot in this Rainier Beach Safeway parking lot.
We are seeing more rounds being fired, and that is where the trauma, occurs. And that's really what we're also trying to figure out. How do we stop this? How do we make our communities, safer? SPD Chief Adrian Diaz says one factor behind these incidents, the number of guns on the streets. This despite SPD recovering 869 guns so far this year, on track to recover more firearms than it did in the last 13 years. They're making stops, multiple stops, and they're recovering guns in stolen vehicles, they're recovering guns in drug cases. He claims the department is looking into safe storage laws and other avenues to get guns out of the hands of people who are a danger to themselves or others. There are changes that some neighbors say are needed to prevent another tragedy.
Definitely need some policing on gun control. And where's the policing at when the establishments get out at 2 o'clock in the morning? I don't know. Continuous gunfire, continuous retaliation. It doesn't seem like it's going to end.
Investigators are still looking into what led to this mass shooting. Chief Diaz says it's likely that this was an isolated incident and there's no ongoing threat to the public, though police are still looking for surveillance video to help with this investigation. For now, reporting in Seattle, Jackie Kent, KOMO News.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell responded to the deadly shooting. He released the statement. It reads in part, quote, "Mass shootings cannot be so commonplace that they are an acceptable summer weekend activity. Not for people at social gathering spaces, not for people at the park, not for anyone, anywhere." Even as SPD keeps up a rapid and record pace of recovering guns, 869 through July, there are still more illegal guns in the wrong hands that could be used to incite another tragedy like this one. You can read the mayor's entire statement. It's on our website with this story.
And Holly from the live desk at 4:35 now. That shooting has now been added to the growing list of deadly mass shootings across the country that has impacted every corner of the nation. According to the Gun Violence Archive, which tracks tracks gun violence nationwide. There have now been 457 mass shootings since the start of this year. A mass shooting is defined as 4 or more people being shot and or killed, not including the shooter. 646 mass shootings were reported during all of last year. That was about 40 fewer than the year before. More than 600 were reported in 2020, a dramatic increase from the 6 previous years.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Preston Phillips from KOMO News. Thanks for checking out the KOMO YouTube channel. You can see more of our videos right here by clicking on the video links for more news from the Seattle area and Western Washington. Oh, and don't forget to click the subscribe button below so you don't miss our YouTube updates.